And for those that don't know, Bryan flew in late last night. 10ish you got in last night?
I got to the hotel at 11.
11 o'clock.
Yeah.
He was at another conference earlier this week, and we spent time together figuring out logistically how he was going to make it work to come in to join us and to share some of his thoughts, some of his learnings and whatnot. So thank you very much for making the effort. It was fantastic. So first off, paint a little picture. What's your role at Optum? And then we'll talk about Optum, the organization, afterwards.
Yeah, so as you can see on the screen, I am currently the Senior Vice President of Supply Chain Engineering at Optum Rx. So I work specifically in our mail order pharmacy segment. I have 5 teams that report through me. So I have our engineering team who does the design, build, and maintenance of our pharmacies. I have our drug procurement team who we work closely with TraceLink and greatly appreciate the partnership. So we do all the drug procurement for our home delivery, specialty, and infusion business. I have our drug file and prescriber file maintenance teams. So we set up all of the systems to make sure that orders can flow through seamlessly from start to finish. Make sure drug interactions, anything else is taken care of. So when those patients are coming through, our team members don't have to think about that. And then I have our logistics and process engineering team. So I was at the National Postal Forum. We're one of a large USPS shipper, which is where I was coming from. And it's the one time a year we can get all of our postal constituents in one room. And for those of you that ship USPS, you probably know why that's so important. So, which is why I didn't get here till late last night. So, but yeah, I've been with Optum 6 years. Prior to that, I spent 15 years at Target Corporation in a number of field distribution roles, supply chain roles, supply chain optimization, and helped build Target's perishable food supply chain. So, again, thanks for having me.
You got it. So you started to introduce a little bit about the Optum organization and some of the capabilities and whatnot. You want to paint a little more color on that? I would say, in part, for example, what is the network that you work with upstream that helps to sort of fuel all the stuff that Optum does?
Yeah, so we have a primary wholesaler that we work with. It was public information, so we moved from Cardinal to McKesson on July 1st of last year. I was also afforded the honor of leading that transition, which we did in 54 days from contract signing to go live, which I probably have scars to show what that felt like, but we're in a much better spot with where we're at and the contract that we put in place with McKesson. And so for the most of what we do, 90+%, it's all one provider inbound to our facilities. And then we do have some direct manufacturer relationships, and then we have some internal distribution that we also purchase from. But for the majority, it's a single supplier wholesaler that delivers the meds into our facilities.
Excellent. So, as a supply chain executive, what's on your executive dashboard? What are the things that hopefully don't keep you up nights too often? But what are some of the things that are top of your mind as you're managing the business, as you're managing the supply chain?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like transformation never ends. So transformation's always, big on that list. We do, like most companies, we keep the customer at the center or the patient at the center of everything we do. So this year we're reevaluating our front end process. So where the patient enters into our pharmacies, and how that process can seamlessly flow from end to end. That's a big focus for us this year. We did just deploy our new demand planning and supplier collaboration tool with a partner called Canaxis, if anyone uses them, and we are incredibly we are blown away by where we're at. We expected to have good results, and we actually saw good results even before deployment. And we just deployed that on March 24th, so it's fairly new for us, but something we're excited about. And then we're always looking at ways that we can do more as one company because Optum Rx and UHG, incredibly matrixed, P&L centric, and so we're always trying to disrupt to see where we can partner better together across our multiple verticals, and do more to help improve the business. So those would be like the top 3 areas. Obviously, I have some things in logistics and supply chain and engineering and robotics, but I won't bore you guys with that at a TraceLink conference.
So, digital transformation, a little bit of a buzzword in some sense, a little bit of a North Star maybe. How do you really think about what digital transformation could lead to as far as specific opportunities for Optum and the supply chain that feeds it?
Yeah, so this is kind of like, as we think about our digital supply chain, if anyone's an Optum customer, our website experience is better than our app experience, which is embarrassing to say, but that'll be fixed this year. But we also think that the digital enablement allows our patients to interact with us the way they want to interact with us, and can help us reduce those physical phone calls that come into our facilities where they get put on hold. They don't have probably the best experience. So that's one thing from a digital perspective that we're heavily focused on. On the data side, I think as we think about digitalization of data, anytime you can have your data synchronized, like data is the king of all for us, and so as the more we've put into one single platforms, the more we can extract out, that's standardized, cleansed, and normalized. It just helps us be so much more effective in our supply chain. So I think those are the 2 areas. But digital is, we have an entire digital team. It's an entire focus for us, and it's probably a never-ending journey, right, to keep up with all the changes that are going on.
So let's talk a little bit about this journey, and we'll come back to digitalization, talking about orchestrating your supply chain relationships and that information as we close things out. Looking at DSCSA, so you were talking about data, digital data. So EPCI is compliance data. That's been a huge challenge for the industry, for many companies. And there's a lot of conversation over the last 2-3 years in the industry about trying to get that data moving down to organizations like Optum. So, how has that process unfolded over, say, the last year to 18 months as you've got this ramp up at Optum now for the final phases of DSCSA?
Super easy. No, I'm kidding.
Cool.
I would say, a small plug. For where the vendors are integrated with the TraceLink platform, that is kind of our easiest path to be where we want to be in November. But it's been an iterative process, right? For the first time, this is probably the first platform that we've ever had consistently across all of our verticals. So same system, same process, same scanners. So even that's been, somewhat of a journey and a challenge for us. But as I think about, what we've done with the vendors that aren't integrated and aren't sending data, is that's been a challenge. So we've created a supplier vendor dashboard. We've had a single team member that we've made this their sole focus to make sure that we're ready across the enterprise. But it's been a journey, and we believe we're ready. We're staying ready. We're grateful for another year delay, because it just helps us make us feel that more ready. But where we're integrated with TraceLink on the API side, that's where we have had the least amount of issues, and it's been kind of a refreshing relief as we head into November of 2025.
Related to that, I would say, aha moments or learnings from that perspective, whether you look at, you're starting to work with an upstream vendor and trying to get alignment with them on, EPCS, it's a standard, should be easy, plug and play. There's different interpretations of how that's actually implemented and whatnot. Whether it's the implementation side getting in alignment, or whether it's the data starting to flow and you're actually testing it, et cetera. Any sort of key takeaways from that phase of things?
Yeah, our key takeaways is don't trust the first 2 tests if they're successful, right? You have to continue to test, you have to continue to iterate, and you have to continue to make sure that the data is flowing as expected. I would say that's the one learning that has been the most front and center for us. We also, you have to think about all the in a company of our size, all the compliance and training and all the different pieces that have to fit into that process. So bringing them along the journey from the start has also been a learning that we felt is going to help us be successful, because it's not only making sure that you're ready to execute the process, it's making sure you can inspect what you expect on the process is happening. So I think those two things are probably the things that stand out the most to me. But on the vendors that that we've struggled to get where we need them to get, I would just say don't assume after one or two tests that you are in a good spot. I would keep testing.
I thought once you set the machine, it's done.
Right. Yeah, so do we. No, I'm kidding. It's like anything, though. I mean, anytime you go through a massive transition like this, there's going to be hiccups. And so continuing to peel back those layers to make sure you know what's going to happen and you're ready for what's going to happen is critical.
So let's talk just a little bit about that sort of interface between, you got this data flowing now, you got the physical products coming in. For an organization of Optum size, the volumes, et cetera, were there any, in this phase of DSCSA implementation, were there significant things you had to do from an operational side to help to prepare to say, am I getting the right data for the products that are coming in? Are there any special checks or validation for that I have to do, et cetera?
Yeah, so with the way our company's structured, we had to integrate with 7 different order management systems, which was part of our challenge. On our home delivery and specialty side, we have consistent systems across the board, and that's the largest portion of what we receive. But integrating that into our warehouse management system, making sure all those data connection points between our inventory systems and the TraceLink systems and the serialization systems has been probably one of the more challenging parts. But I feel we feel really good about where we're at in the journey. But that's a testament to the team that's been working on it and to the partnership we have with TraceLink. And it's taken us a while to get here. Again, we were not. I think everyone worked so hard last year to make sure we were ready for November, and so when it got punted again, we felt ready then. But having one more year under our belt is going to put us in a really good spot to be ready for this industry change.
So you were talking about order management, right? And the order to cash process overall, et cetera, multiple order management systems. And, that's been, one of the themes, one of the, if you will, use cases throughout FutureLink, from looking at how order management, how order to cash is done today. What are the opportunities to digitalize that, to automate certain parts of it, et cetera? As you look at that process with your upstream suppliers, where would you say that Optum is on sort of a journey from being sort of really highly manual to it's very much an automated, always on 24/7 kind of system? Kind of where are you right now?
We are at every step of the spectrum, depending on the business that you ask about. So our home delivery and specialty side, I would say we're at the further end of the maturity curve. So we've got a centralized operation, procure to pay, standard inventory systems, and that's where we just rolled out a new demand planning and supplier collaboration tool. So we feel really good about where we're at there. We have other lines of business in our portfolio that are not there, and there's no data connections. There's nothing that we don't know, POs, advanced ship notifications, anything really that's going on. We're doing a lot of it manually, and so that's where we've really partnered with TraceLink on the Mint application to connect data sources or data connections from different pieces to help us, I'm going to say, create a semblance of centralization without having a significant investment in the systems that it would take to get us there. One of our business just specifically is on a journey to change their entire CRM system and even front end platform, and that journey, if you've been on these types of journeys, like it's expected to finish in like 2027, and then they told us after that we could then look at procure to pay tools. So in a company our size, that's 2030. And we can't wait for that. So it's how do we do more now? And what we've really valued is the opportunity that Mint gives us to do that. And so we will. I think I was talking to Dan this morning. They got a call today at noon. So we're hoping to push that forward this year in 2025. And so instead of waiting to 2030, we're now able to implement something now while we wait for whatever the future holds to get to that maturity state. So.
Yeah, and then that's always one of those interesting challenges of, IT organization always has projects. Then you have new opportunities, unscheduled. Is it, tacked on to the end? Can things be done in parallel, et cetera? We actually have the next conversation, we'll be talking about that challenge, about I've got all these enterprise projects, now I want to digitalize and I want to orchestrate some relationships, say order to cash. How can I do that in parallel processing? I mean, sounds like you have very similar kind of questions in your organization. As you look at that order to cash process, you've got trying to figure out your own internal forecasts and then going from PO to the order being fulfilled, advance ship notice, down to invoice and closing things off. From your perspective, where do you think about starting? And I asked that, for example, yesterday. We had a healthcare system, and they were talking about their biggest pain was really on the back end side. It was about invoice and paying invoices on time and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
What kind of comes to your mind in that journey?
Well, 6 years ago when I started, if I can give you the journey we went on, we've grown through acquisition, and so we had 7 different pharmacies on 6 different systems. So the first thing we did was standardize our technology within our pharmacies, right? So we had the same pharmacy control system, same warehouse management system. And then the second thing we did is we had our procure to pay in our front end system, which was built to be our CRM. So you can imagine this was a bolt-on to a bolt-on, and we removed that and put it into the same platform we have as our warehouse management system. So we had the first single source of truth for inventory. And then we built demand planning and supplier collaboration. So, why did we sequence it that way? Because if we would have sequenced it any different, we'd have been integrating, multiple times with multiple providers. And so that gave us the cleanest way to get to where we wanted to be. So, while I would say I would follow that footprint, I just said Mint gives us an opportunity to not have to, right? And so if I was following that same, blueprint in the business that I was just speaking of, I would have to wait till 2027, and then 2028, 29, 2030. And again, it took us 6 years in our last business, so I'd expect it to take us 6 years again. So now the Mint solution's given us a different path to again get to where we want to be quicker, and to not need to wait and delay those types of investments while we're on the journey. So,
a couple more questions. So, you mentioned earlier on, you were talking about, the real importance of ensuring you're fulfilling those customer orders,
yep.
The patient's orders and whatnot. So how do you manage to keep up with that customer demand today? And and you talked about there's been work you've done internally in inventory management and whatnot. Do you see opportunities for better data, better tools, better linkages, et cetera, within your internal operations to help on that front as well?
100%. If anyone has solved the data journey, it's in entirety. I would love to hear how you did that. So, a couple things. We've done a nice job of stitching together our customer experience from start to finish. 3 years ago, we had good tools that said, here's how our front end's operating, and the front end is where our scripts are received, adjudicated, before they're sent to the pharmacy to dispensing, and then we call our dispensing pharmacies our back end. And we had good data on the back end, but if you're a member, you could have had a horrible process in the front end, and we were celebrating how quickly we got your order out and to you in the back end, and that doesn't matter, right? Because I ordered it, and it took me how long to receive it. So we went on a journey to put all that data together in one system, and then now the journey we're on is trying to figure out, what tools are out there that can make it easy for people to extract that data, right? So we've looked at some AI solutions that you can use natural language and just type what you're looking for and can help extract the data. We use some process mining tools to help, look at where the process is and where it should be to help highlight the gaps. So that's one area that the data's been a big portion. And then, on our logistics side, I'll give you another portion. We have, a tool that does our spend management. We have a tool that does our service management. And we have a tool that's supposed to help us execute in our TMS and has been quite a challenge. And so we're now looking to find a single provider that can help us do all three of those in one system. And so now you have your spend data, your service data, and your execution data, so to be able to quickly pivot between those two. So there's two journeys we're on from a data perspective, but I feel like that as soon as we get done with those, the next problem will be there, and we'll be continuously solving with data. But I think it starts with a good platform where you have standardized, cleansed, and normalized data that you can then pull from, right? Your data lake or whatever you call it internally is the key to then drive that to the next level.
So you mentioned the phrase AI, and so yesterday one of the things that our president and CEO Shabir was talking about is agentic orchestration and some of the things that TraceLink has been working on, and sort of kind of a little peek into kind of where we're going with agent-based AI, if you will, personas, profiles that can help out. When you think about the supply chain for Optum, and you think about things that AI could help you as a leader to better manage that business. So, while you're wiring things up and getting digital data moving and getting, integrated links between internal systems and then also with your external suppliers, where are some of the opportunities that you see to build on top of that normalized, much more precise and timely data foundation?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've looked at a number of vendors. We've looked at, on our procurement side of the house, we've looked at agentic AI solutions that can help you manage the tail of your spend more effectively, right? Everyone does a really good job in their top 20%, but that middle 70 is where sometimes it gets pushed to the side. We looked at the agentic AI for our logistics software that I was just telling you about. They have some tools out there now that help you, your language models, your agents that can help you do all those different spend management focuses to help you with reduction of people. So those are two areas that we've been heavy in. And again, we looked at it's not, I wouldn't call that agentic AI, but the overlay of our data platform where we can use language models to help create reporting and pull out reporting. That's another area where we've been heavily focused. And then we also, on our pharmacy side, we do a lot of the AI. So our team has the patent for the vision system that uses AI to detect pills. So you can actually make sure it's the right pill, right size, right shape, right color, right markings. And so that's something we're really proud of. And so as we introduce robotics, it's helping us even make sure that the quality we dispense is always top. You don't get a second chance in pharmacy, so it's got to be right the first time. So we've even introduced some tools that we've patented, which is pretty exciting.
Cool. In the last minute, any closing remarks from your perspective as you've been going down this journey for other people that are just starting to think about this journey, questions they should be asking internally, people they should be collaborating with internally?
I would say, just overall, whether it's TraceLink, lean into your partners. I think the vision behind even this fireside chat came out of a really productive QBR where we opened the book. We just said, here's everything we're working on, and here's everything we need help with. And it led to a great discussion, and it led to a discussion about a tool called Poet that we didn't really know about that could help us on our front end transformation. And so, if you're not, having those open, transparent conversations, trust your partners and it can open the door in your eyes to things that you may not even have on your radar to solve, but now you can actually solve with some of the tools that they're putting out there in the marketplace.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us at the event. Thank you for all your insights, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.